Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you wonderful people may be. I am your humble host who is late, Mr. David Nall, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers, blah, blah, blah. And I greet you with the love and the honor of the infinite creator. And I continue to pray that each and every day, each and every one of you will learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom from the universe. And my apologies for being late, but I got invited onto the new Milky Way Soul Tribe channel, and I'm very proud of that. And I'm very proud that all of you are part of it and are part of this community, our community, the Soul Tribe. But so, and we had to chat when we shut offline and had a few things to discuss. And so, but I'm very proud that everybody's sticking together, and our prayers go out to Mr. Brian B. and to Milky Way Messenger, but he's watching over us, and he wants us to keep the faith. Now, tonight's discussion is one that the angels have been wanting me to talk about for a while. And I have discussed it in other ways previously on my channel, but they're saying that I need to revisit this discussion because with all the things that are going on now and, you know, people that we love that are passing away or have illnesses and etc. With all the problems in the universe, people want to turn to a religion for their faith. And one of the things that we need to understand from a shaman, I am a shaman in training, as we all are. But as a shaman in training, you need to understand certain basic key points so that the rest of it is easier to understand. And that being the fact that any words of wisdom can help you with spirituality. I've read books by mostly unknown authors who have had some wonderful insights. I mean, for example, Star Wars, you know, may the force be with you. What? When I first saw that all those years ago, I thought to myself, holy crap, this is some serious stuff. But it does sort of explain something in a simple sentence. May the force be with you. The force, what force? The force of the universe, the cosmos, you know, that whether it's supernatural or not, and it can be, especially if one develops it. That's why a really good shaman can float and pass through walls and, you know, but the idea though that it's religion that makes us spiritual. Well, there are a lot of people who have gone to the Grand Canyons or the Smoky Mountains or, you know, I went to Mount Rainier and had a religious experience, and it had nothing to do with religion. I mean, I had a spiritual moment, you know, on the backside of Mount Rainier, and oh my God, you know, unbelievable. I'm standing on a volcano that's, you know, and it's July the 4th, and I'm standing in snow and having a snowball fight. And so it's like, you know, so my reality down here living in the South and, you know, a tall mountain is 400 feet, you know, yeah, you got to go to the mountains, you know, and even in, North Georgia, the tallest mountain is only 6,500 feet. So it's not really tall, but when you go out west and you see the mountains, you can look in a book all you want to, but until you start crawling them up in your little vehicle and trying to get to the top, and then you turn around and look back over, you go, oh my God, that's why people live out here. You know, there's some wild places on this planet. Now, with that said, what's that got to do with shamanism? Well, shamans understand the nature of things. And the nature of things is nature. So when you start understanding that there are ants that are important because, you know, if it weren't for ants and flies and things like that, dead carcasses would really be nasty. If it weren't for, you know, blowflies and maggots and things, you know, and you go, ooh, that's gross. But the smallest of things help to help the course of Mother Nature. So all, you know, snow melts in the mountains out west, and boy, is that water cold. and it flows down. It's the snow packet, down here. We got to wait for it to rain. Ain't no snowfall. So, things are drastically different in a mindset. But I can understand snow melting, running down, making a river. Down here, we got to wait on the rain. So, but we can understand why Mother Nature covers all kinds of different areas. Like there's still snow on Mount Rainier right now. It don't ever melt all the way because it's so tall. And why is Seattle, cloudy all the time? It's because as the temperatures warm up, some of the snow melts and it creates fog. It's foggy all the time around there. But with that said, but it's the understanding. Well, it's foggy because, the spirits don't like the people there. No, it's because of moisture and the snow and the temperature and the thing. It's science, but it's also a natural thing. So first you understand that all things are natural. Living and dying, those are natural things, passing on to the next. Now, to understand, let's see, I need to read the Bible. Now, I've got relatives, and God bless them, I mean this, they take the Bible and say, well, Jesus said this, and Jesus this, and Jesus that. Yeah, okay. He was a nice guy, and he taught a lot of stuff, but the Christ consciousness has been around on this planet long before Jesus got here, if you believe he actually existed. Now, I believe that in many reincarnations, Jesus was just one of the reincarnations of the spirit that is the Christ consciousness. And so we have to understand who wrote the Bible. People, all right? Well, they were divinely inspired. Yeah, okay. But what they fail to understand is that it's a guide. It's a guide. It's not, quote, a religion. It's a guide. Read this book and see what you can get out of it. Now, you've heard me complain about the King James Version. If you're reading the King James Version, please stop and go get one of the older versions before King James got his filthy little hands on them. And my daughter, I've talked about this before, my daughter Jackie, she has a Bible that was the older style. It's not a King James Version. She goes, Dad, it's so easy to read. Pops, I understand it. It doesn't have all this these and thous. And yeah, it's really easy to understand. And the idea that who put there's so many lords and thys and thous and these and stuff. King James did that mess, okay? Because he was the king, he was also considered God. So there are people who are and he was a little wacky to be also. He had a French boyfriend, while he had a wife in England. Okay, so, and he preferred the little boy in France. When I read about that, I was like, oh man, this guy. And he rewrote the Bible to suit himself because he was the Lord. He was the king. So all these references, they don't have the same references in the older versions, okay? So you have to understand, well, I'm reading this Bible. Yeah, but which version? And you say, well, Hawkeye, what difference is it? It makes a lot of difference because it's the mindset and the intent of why did King James have to rewrite it to begin with? To include himself as the Lord, okay? And he left stuff out. He left some of the Psalms out, rearranged them, go back to the old text. Now, that's about that religion. I've studied Buddhism and Hinduism, and for a long time I considered myself a Buddhist. And I'm like, well, yeah, I kind of still do have those Buddhist tendencies, but so do all native peoples. It's not just the Buddhists, it's all native peoples. And they do things religiously, like they will have a drum ceremony or a full moon ceremony. And that is, they do it religiously, but not as a religion. Hawkeye, what you talking about? Well, because their faith is in the drumming. The faith is in their regalia. Their faith is in the medicine bag that they wear or keep in their pocket or whatever. Their faith is in what they can't actually see that's tangible, but they understand is there. Does it take religion for them to understand it? No. They have to, in other words, they don't have to read a bunch of stuff because Native Americans don't write stuff down. They tell the stories. So the legends that are told and that are kept, like I've said before, I had the opportunity to work for many years off and on with a legend keeper of the Tlingit tribe in Alaska. And he is a bona fide, if he's still alive, Kashka, we wish you well. Tells many legends. When I look at him, and he was a professor of math. And in his older years, he retired and he went full-time legend keeper and travels around and tells these legends. So, but I'm in having conversation with him. I'm like, but you're a mathematician. You've got all this other knowledge, but you tell these legends, and he goes, they're true. So I'm looking at him now. This was 20 years ago, and I'm like, Now let me stop and consider this. Well, what about Turtle Island? Pangea, the one, and land was put on here, and the birds flew in, and well, okay. Well, you go way back in history, and the planet was supposedly one big piece, Pangea, right? So it's all these tectonics and everything, and the Earth expanding, and the continental drift, and all this other kind of stuff. And so it's like, but then they tell you, well, no, that didn't really happen. But then they tell you it did, but then they don't. This bunch about science and what is true and not true that comes out of both sides of their mouth, like the speed of light is a constant. No, it's not. It's an average. There are so many things that they tell you is true. Like my biggie is about that comets are big balls of ice and snow. And no. There are other things in the universe that they won't discuss or have a belief system about, that there might be a type of plankton or some kind of space dust out there that is agitated when these things go by, like the plankton that comes in the summer times, and you can swim in it, and the ocean just glows, and when they're not disturbed, they go quiet again. We used to swim underwater when the little algae things came in. I can't think of it now. But anyway, so if that can happen in the oceans, we look up and at the stars, and isn't that a vast ocean above us? Why can't, if it's so below, couldn't it be true above? So, but this idea that it's a snowball is just for crap. Okay, we got to stop this. But they still talk about it. It's still a ball of ice and snow. Okay, enough of that. But so why am I bringing up science as part of this? Because there are religions who exclude science altogether. And I spoke with many Native American people about, science of things, and they might not understand the chemistry, but they know that plant over there, and they know that plant over here. And if you mix them up and mash them up and you make a tea with it, it's good for a sprain, or it's good for a headache. Menstrual cramps for ladies. I mean, the old timers knew their stuff. Why? Well, back in the day, it was said that plants spoke to people. And there are many of us. I mean, if I haven't watered the plants in here in a couple of days, they start screaming, water, 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 water me. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't paying attention. But, that they have proven that music and how you speak to plants has an effect on how they grow. So if we can have an effect on how they grow, and I have plants in my house, there's 2 or 3 over here, there's some over here. I've got vines when you come in the front door that are hanging down and stuff, when you're inside the house when you come in. And some of those plants haven't been moved in 10 or 12, 15 years, and I just keep watering them. I don't even put fertilizer in them. I just put water in there. And I thought to myself, well, these plants should all be dead by now. But now I've got well water, there's clay in the water and nutrients and all that kind of stuff. But to the point, I don't fertilize anything. And this plant over here is doing great. I've got a pepper plant that I got last year that made it through the winter. I'm still watering it, and it's got a tiny little bell pepper on it. It should be dead 2 or 3 times over. But so this idea, though, that, well, these are this and that's that, and you can't keep this, and blah blah blah. That's just so much hype. So we have to be able to perceive and maybe strike out on our own and go, let me try this little experiment here. Now, it's the nature of things. So our faith is in our spirituality. Well, if I talk to my plants, they will grow better. And because they grow better, they'll sing and give me good energy and oxygen in the house. And isn't that a good thing? And these plants are taking all of my hot air and turning it into food for themselves. But the idea, though, that it's the nature of things. So religion is out there, and people are, well, let's go to the book of Jehovah's, or let's go to the book of blah, 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 or God said this. Really? Well, and God said that. Well, it depends on the book you read. If you're reading in some of these new versions, you're not reading the old text, which you should if you want to get the truth, not somebody's reinterpretation of the interpretation. You know what I'm saying? So if you, and I'm not against the Bible, and I still find solace in the old, not the Old Testament, but in the older versions of the Bible, because they're so much easier to understand. And so I have used the Bible. I've got an old Bible sitting right over here, along with this and several other books around me. But here's the thing. Spirituality isn't in the religion. My grandmother on the Null side of the family, she was a mean, wicked, mean, and nasty person. Her son wouldn't even go to her funeral, okay, because she was such a wicked. She gave me away and refused me and my mother when I was 3 to come in out of the snow near Christmas time. And it was a month later that I was adopted by my uncle. So, my grandma Null, you don't ever hear me talk about her, except that she was a mean old nasty witch. And she went to mass every single day. I mean, 6:30 mass. She was out the door, and I can remember her taking me as a young child. But at the same time, she didn't want me in the family because she was Catholic and wanted me to be adopted by somebody else, but not in the family. And so then later on, she was like, oh, David, we love you so much. You crazy bitch. You tried to sell me out to the Catholic orphanage. Yeah, because she took me when I went to Ohio one time to meet my real mother, which was not, it was her old friend, and she wanted me to be adopted by her. Nice house, had a piano in there. I remember a white carpet. This was many years ago, but lived up in Dayton. But the idea, though, that here is this woman who was a, quote, strict Catholic, but had zero compassion for her friends. Well, her family for sure. Her son wouldn't go to her funeral. I can't think of his name right now. But anyway, at her funeral, I was like, hey, you want to ride with me? And he goes, I'm not going to her funeral. She did things to me, and she did things to you that you don't even know about before you was like old enough to understand, because he was there when his not oldest sister, but older sister, Dolores, my mother, he saw things that, she wouldn't have anything to do with me. And then later on, they'd come to Florida. And, oh, David, you're our special child. Now, she was a religious person, but I wouldn't even take the time to spit on that woman's grave because she had no spirituality. She had no heart. She only had religion. Now, consequently, my grandma Raleigh, Miss Mary, and we weren't even related by blood, but she was the one I speak about all the time, that we had this ESP connection going. She was like, don't tell anybody, your aunt will freak out. And when I was there just days before she passed away, and we had conversations about passing over and about dying and spirituality, she goes, your mother wanted me to call a priest to come and sit by my bed and pray with me. She goes, what do I need a priest for, David? And I was like, you don't, Granny. We'll sit here and we'll talk, and I'll merge my spirit with hers. I sat with her for about 2 days. I went down to Florida for a couple of days, a long weekend, to visit her. And then she died a couple of days later. But anyway, I just went in and spent time with her. We talked about old things. And I could tell that she was on her way somewhere. And so with these experiences in my life, she didn't go to church, but she was one of the most spiritual people I've ever known in my life. So it's like, which grandma do you want? The one that ain't even related to me, who treats me better than my real grandma, who never tried to throw me out. When I was in jail, my little old granny lady would go in there. They would frisk her down, pat her down so she could come see me. My aunt didn't come. None of my other relatives came. My pop showed up once or twice, but my granny showed up. She was in her late 60s, early 70s. Well, in her mid 60s anyway. She was about my age now. But anyway, the idea that here's this little old lady that went down to the jail and put herself through the torment to see me when I was incarcerated there in Tampa. Nobody else did. Granny did. So, but there are all these religious people. There are all these folks, but they didn't have, and to me, my grandma Noel didn't have a soul because of the things she did to her family. To me, as I found out years later, that holy crap, how could you do this to your own daughter, to your own son, to your grandson, to your grandchildren? And you claim that well, I'm a Catholic. I'm a strict Catholic. Yeah, but you're going to hell. Well, no, I'm not, because I go to church every day. I don't know. Maybe she had that many sins that she had to go to confession all the time, and she had to do this and to be a stout Catholic and all this other crap. Now, I don't know if Grandma Noel went to hell. I don't think she went straight to the nice place. I think she had to do some penance on that one. Now, can I be the judge of that? No. But from her life and what she did, not spiritual, very religious, but not spiritual. So in my life, you ask me, well, don't you want to go to church? Why? My granny went to church and she threw me and my mother out in the snow. She tried to, blah, 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 blah. She did this to her kids. And you want me to go become a Catholic, even after what's happened to me as a young Catholic man, boy, etc., and why I chose not to go into the priesthood, right? So, but the idea, though, that spirituality, is it linked to religion? Not necessarily. Why? Grandma Raleigh was very spiritual, didn't go to church, had a Bible, read it once in a while, but she was more in tune with nature and people and the feeling of it. Well, David, this don't feel right. You're right, Grandma. And regardless of what was wrong or right or wrong or whatever, if there was something wrong, but we'll get through it. Oh, Lord, you went to jail, but we'll get through it. I'll come see you. Well, thank you, Grandma. And when you get out, I'll give you a place to stay until you can get straightened out. Thank you, Grandma. Nobody else would do this but my granny. And she's not even related. But she loved me that much. And she was that spiritual. She did it to other folks, not just me. So when I think about recent events here and folks and trying to help folks, because of my Grandma Raleigh, because of Granny, I have tried to help other people. It's pretty much ended up in minor catastrophes, them staying here or whatever. But they were having trouble regardless of where they would have put their feet down for a short time. All right, now what about religion? Now, there is the Buddhism. We can go through all things of Buddha and the meditation. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But I can't get my legs crossed like that. And the feeling goes numb in my legs. So, but can we sit under a tree and accept the universe? Yeah. Can we be Buddhist like? Yeah. Do we have to be so religious about it? Well, in certain things we should. And if there's a mantra or a chant or a om, there are things about that. That there's the tone. There are certain things, I hate to use this word, but that are magical in a way, in that we don't really understand how it works, but it does. You know, if you sit and go, the throat uh, uh, chanters, you know, oh, I can't do it right now, but when you can transfer that noise down your esophagus and down your chest and down to where it hits your, you know it's coming from your stomach, and you get these gluttural noises, it's like, whoa, it's like I got a didgeridoo over here. And when you hit certain notes with the didgeridoo, that they're really low and they're powerful, and it's that wong, wong, wong. So it's magical in that it helps you to become more spiritual if you let it. There are certain songs in churches, you know, that made me feel, you know, spiritual, having nothing to do with the song per se, but it was the melody. You know, I love singing in the choral. I used to do a lot of singing with the local choral group and um, theater group and so forth. Anyway, and there's something about when, you know, 2 or 3 people, 4 people, or a choir, but when you are in harmony and you're doing a song and the hair stands up on your arm because you've got it, there's a feeling, it's magical. So, but is it religious? But it's very spiritual. So in this music, the types of music that lift us up, you know, I got some old songs on a thing, and there are a couple of tunes in there. I mean, you know, it's like, oh, I forgot about that. I go, if I'm sitting down and hurting, I get up and dance anyway. It's what it instills in us. So religion is good up to a point. If we can go through all the crap and crud and say, now, what does this mean for me or to me spiritually? How is this going to, if I just believe in Jesus died on the cross and that's all there is to it, they don't talk about his life. Oh, well, he was hung on the cross. And you okay. And I've talked about this before. People need to take Jesus off the cross because that's all the blood of Jesus, you know, the Lamb of God. You okay, we got that. He died for our sins. Okay, let's move on. What did he do? What did he talk about? Well, I don't know, but he died on the cross for us. He died for us. Let's get beyond that. Let's don't go, well, you know, in the Old Testament, stay out of there. Let's discuss what Jesus reportedly said. And let's focus on that. Well, but he died for us. I know that, but it's only that much of the story. How can you be spiritual? How can you understand the spiritualism of the Christ consciousness if you don't listen to what he said? Well, we listen to it. Well, you know, St. Paul says this in the gospel, and St. John said this, and blah, blah, blah. But what did Jesus say? But Mark says, what did Jesus say? What did he talk about? He talked about helping each other. And there's this one, and I've talked about it before, but it really does bear repeating in that, and I want to say, I've got it marked anyway, I'm not going to look it up, but John, or I did a video on it, so it's 2 years ago probably now, but anyway, it's the verse, you know, this rich man comes up and to Jesus, is walking along with everybody and talking and having a good time. And he goes, Jesus, you know, I feed my servants, and I do this and I do that and I do this. And he goes, but what do I need to do to be like you? And Jesus says, sell your house and give all your land away and all your possessions and come and follow me. And the man looked at him, but Lord, and he was like, you asked. And the man walked away disgruntled and was like all pissed off with Jesus. But the bottom line is that now the old Indians, Native Americans, I hate to use the word Indian, but anyway, that sort of slipped out. But to the point though that they're old men who, and I have the feeling now, my house is full of junk, but some people go, it's like a freaking museum, Dave. I do. I got stuff from people all over around the world. I've got bells from China. Here, let me get these for you. For example, a friend of mine traveled to the Great Wall of China. Now, they're just two pieces of brass with a piece of leather to hold them together. But what the monks do and people, they walk along, and as they walk, these bells go in time. So as they walk, they're calling to the spirits. And there are times when nothing else will do it but to take these two bells and this piece of leather, and it's just how you hold it is how you, but to get them to do this to where they almost sound the same tone. They're two separate bells, very closely alike, but minor differences, but you can get these things to hit just right in the tone. It's like, I got it. And it surrounds you. And it's like these two little pieces of brass and a piece of leather. And so there is natural magic in basic things that we have, like bells. I got all kinds of bells because they all have different tones. And so it's sort of like, I can't think of his name right now, but he played in Our Man Flint. It was a knockoff of James Bond way back in the day, but he used to play the gong. He had a big gong, and it just and I thought, that's kind of nuts. But then I got into the bells and the things, and I was like, playing a gong, for not that you bang it, but for the tone, with the dong, 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 and how you get that resonance to vibrate is meditative. So it's like, well, I can go to the doctor and I can go this, and I can take pills to relieve my anxiety. Maybe you just need a bell with the right tone. Now, not all bells work for me at the same time. There'll be one I'll pick it up and go, well, I had this last time. Nah, wrong frequency. So I've got small bells, larger bells, and maybe I would really like to get a gong. But the idea, though, that it's these tones, it's nature, back to nature again, back to natural things, natural sound. Well, you say, well, a gong, that's not, man made the gong. Yeah, but there's things in nature that have that reverberation is part of what I mean about this. That is spiritual. But here's the switch. If you do bells religiously, in other words, once a day, doesn't necessarily mean the same time, but if once a day you take a few minutes and you sit down with bells religiously to do this once a day, regardless of how long or when, okay, that's part of it. It doesn't matter. Well, I got 5 minutes between, this time and this time. Well, okay. If your scheduling is that tight, but the idea though is sort of a free flow, like, maybe I'll play my bell for a minute or two. just to hear that tone, just to see if I can center myself and just listen to the ding dong, the dong, bong, 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 whatever, right? So in that, so in um, one of the things about going to the mountains still enjoy are the babbling brooks. So, I'd find the road that turned into a dirt road that quit, and then I'd go up that, and then I'd walk a little ways, and that's where I camp. So, I very rarely ever camped in a campsite. A designated camping area. I was always somewhere up in the national forest, up some forest trail somewhere with a little camp. And usually next to a little brook. So the air, the oxygen that's coming out of the air that's bubbling over the rocks, the sound of that babbling brook. And now you can buy tapes, I got one somewhere, of a babbling brook so that you can, peaceably go to sleep. So there are things in nature, crickets, the night, the this, the that, the blah, blah, blah. Natural things that calm us. What? Yeah. I got all around my house and down here in the swamp, right back of the house, a bunch of elderberry bushes. Now, I knew from an old herbalist years ago that elderberry was good for minor things and this and that. Now they got elderberry in pills. I've got a bottle of them in there. But I've got all these elderberry trees growing around my yard and stuff. They're actually kind of hard to kill, which now that I look at it, why not have an orchard of elderberry? But I also noticed too that some of them have already flowered, and I went to go pick the berries and they're gone. And I was like, what? But they grow in great big clumps, usually about this big, some of them a little bigger, some of them smaller. But anyway, but that I noticed that some of them have already bloomed, ripened, and either the birds got them, which better but some of them have just started to make, and I mean, here's one. This one's already done. This one isn't. So it's still in a few days, the berries that are on it will hopefully ripen. So it's like, wow, it's not like the whole bush does it at one time. So anyway, so I'm learning about elderberries and all these things, and I've been cutting them down as like, they're in the way. And in places they are. But I'm learning, like, maybe I should move this up. Maybe I should let the elderberry grow, and you can hack it down and it'll grow right back the next year. They're amazingly quick as how fast they grow and so forth. But anyway, but nature. So there are so many things in nature that literally grow right around us. Now, folks in suburbia and things like that, not so much, but those of us who just live in the country or live out, the outskirts of town or whatever, we drive by things all the time. Big cities, not so much, blah, blah, blah. But anyway. So, and people say, well, I'm going to have my faith in my job, and I'm going to have my faith in this, and I'm going to live in this city, and there's all these good things. But then when it boils right down to it, do you really have what you need in the city? I'm not putting cities down. I live down here in the country, and my nearest neighbor's a quarter mile, eighth of a mile that away, but the idea, though, that in the cities, I could never feel the same spiritualness that I do when I'm out in the country. I mean, it's just that way. When I go to the mountains or when I go down to the river or back into the swamp or whatever, there's a sense of nature that fills me, that gives me a spirituality that I simply cannot get in a book. I can get the idea of it. I can get a little glimpse or a grasp in my mind. But if I go out into nature somehow and allow myself to relax on what maybe I've read, there are parts of text or verses or Bible or Buddha or whoever that I think about and I go, oh, wow. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Now, recently, I have talked about the tribe of one for a long time, in that in order to collect all my different personalities that, was chemically being induced into these other different of my own personalities, there's the outdoorsman. There's the politician, there's the actor, there's the director, there's all these different people, and they're just characteristics of myself. I was watching a program the other day and was like, it's everything is almost like a tribe. And I was like, what? Now I can't take credit for this. It was an author of a science fiction book that I read years ago. Got it for $1 on the cheap, used book thingy or whatever. Or maybe it was at the dollar store. That's how I got it for $1. But the idea was that he talked about this particular character and how he had become a tribe of one, and how he had taken all these different characteristics. And that's why I say, somebody's got to be the camp counselor. Somebody's got to be the grown-up in here, as well as in things that we do around us. But I've noticed that other people are starting to pick up on this tribe of one. What? Now that's for an internal person. That's, you get all these things and thoughts. Before I go blurting something out, it has to go. I've made this agreement with myself. It's got to pass through the camp counselor, Now there are times when the counselor's off on a drunk or something. No, I'm not. No, not seriously. But the idea, though, that we have to allow our grown-up self to not say that, or maybe to say the appropriate thing when maybe we've been quiet. And maybe what we should do is offer some kind of comfort that's very simple. Like, I'm sorry for your loss or something like that. You can just say, this is a very troubling time for you, and I pray for the best. It's like, what? It's a slightly different from what everybody else is saying. But if you ask the universe for the right things to say without trying to just blurt out something, and speak from your heart. Trina, we were talking about that earlier in the video and afterwards, but if you speak from the heart, my grandma Raleigh, she spoke from her heart. Didn't go to church, didn't, twice a year, Easter time and Christmas, but she felt obligated. But it didn't make her any better of a person or less of a person. Actually, to me, it actually made her less of a person in that she gave in to all the pressure. But, she was like, well, I don't really think I need church, but I'll go on Easter and I'll go on Christmas. Okay. But nobody said, Grandma, you're going to go to church with us, right? Well, I don't know. No, they didn't try to pressure Grandma, but she felt obligated because of her family. So twice a year, that's what she did. But on the other side, Grandma, no, she was a stark raving mad lunatic, and she went to Mass every day. So, and twice on Sundays, literally. So she'd go to an early Mass and sometimes a later one. I didn't do her any good at all, but anyway. And maybe she was just so mean and hateful that's why she went to church all the time, was to try to, but to me, it just drove her more into this, the church says this, the church says that, and the church has said some pretty crummy things. Like if a child is born out of wedlock, that's a bastard son, and you must, out of here, But then all of a sudden I'm adopted back in and, by my uncle. Thank you, Arnie. And, now everything's all right with the church. But they wanted me out before, and I didn't have a damn thing to do with it. It wasn't my fault she got pregnant. But that's not the point. So all of this pain towards the mother and the father, but more towards the mother, in having me in the orphanage there in Cincinnati, that she did all she could to get rid of me out of the family. And I can't see where you learned a damn thing about Jesus, in so many ways. And I know people around here that are the same way. They're Methodist. Now, I got to say, the Episcopalians that I know, they're not bad folk. They're a little weird, but they're not bad folk. The Methodist, I got to say, it just seems like they're hoity-toity. And I've been in the Catholic Church. Some of them, it's like they're paying their way to heaven. And they're going to be so surprised when they get there and realize that the money didn't do them a damn bit of good, because their frequency's about like this, and an amp's got more a better frequency than some of these churchgoers. Oh my goodness. So what religion, but I keep praying for them, going, I hope you all see what, it ain't about the money that you spend or the what you tithe with. Are you actually helping a homeless person? Did you like give somebody that's having a really hard time? You own 20 pieces of rental properties. Can you give them a break? Well, if I gave them a break, I'd have to give everybody a break. Well, you got money in the bank. You got 10 houses, but there's somebody over here who lost their job. Their kids are blah, and but I'm gonna I used to work for some of these folks as a carpenter, and I'd go into the houses after people got tossed out. Now, some of them needed to be tossed out, and others I tried to be the person in between, like, you got enough money, let these people slide, or give them a break, or work something out, or something. It's a business. It's a business. So they throw people out, and people go on the street, and it's that. And oh my God, the cycle of stuff that goes on about that. And it's all about how much money they can earn. But they go to church and talk about it on the steps and go, I had to evict a person from one of my properties this week. Do you think Jesus would have really went for that? But y'all are religious, but not spiritual. So now spiritualism. Now there are those who we're going to talk to the spirits, and man, I'm going to light some incense, and we're all going to, and the spirits are going to sit, and I'm going to conjure up this person, and I'm going to do this and that, and my 10 cents about channeling people. I'm against it. Now, there are times I kind of feel like Brian's sitting right here, but I ain't channeling him. Okay? I'm not going out there and going, oh, Brian coming in and blah, 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 and I'm going to. No. His spirit, I can hear if I listen. My granny, my other people who passed away before, if I listen and I know it's them, they're just a feeling that it's them. It's my granny. It's Brian. It's this person. It's that person. It's my buddy Sandy from so many years back. Still with me. And they may be, my granny may be reincarnated. I don't know. Maybe that's why it's been a little quiet. Same thing with Sandy. But, it's been 30 years, so they could very well be in another point of view. And somebody asked me the other day, and I won't mention who, just out of, but they asked me, they said, could somebody not be reincarnated? And I was like, maybe on this planet, but there is a vast universe. And so there are some folks who've never been to this plane. They've never been to this planet. So they're looking at everything. Now, I'm an old grunt. I've been reincarnated on this planet a few times. But I also have feelings that I know of other worlds and other lifetimes that I could swear they're real, but I can't prove it. And, I was taught as a little kid looking at the little star cluster of Pleiades. In the middle of the night, I'd wake up and look out the window and stare at this little tiny star cluster. And even back then, I was like, what am I doing? What's up there? And then I'd wake up on the bed, scrunched up. And, there have been many times before anybody ever talked about alien abduction that I kind of wondered what was up with the Palladian thing and all that. And I've been reluctant to say, whoa, I'm Palladian. But I've got, apparently through my own information, there is some of that in me. So, but, I don't go around going, look, I'm a Palladian. But there's so much history dating back to when I was 8 and 9 and 10 years old in my life that I had not a clue what that little star cluster meant. Do I know now? Only in that everything means something. Am I from there in a previous life, another reincarnation? I do got to say, it feels like somewhere out there, and that seems to be the local spot. Very few other places in the universe, and I've looked at the sky a lot. attract me like Pleiades does. And especially since before I even knew what the hell it was. So in that, it means something to me. So you got to look at your own life and go, well, wait a minute. If, there are certain things that I have seen religiously, not having to do with any Bible or anything, but has reoccurred to me religiously over my lifetime to help me to understand the natural order of things, to help me to understand my own spiritualism. And God bless y'all in that I hate the word to use God, but creator, source, that, some of us might not get reincarnated on this planet. We might end up somewhere in another galaxy, in another lifetime, in another dimension, and we might have glimpses with our memories if we're born without being able to remember. Everybody say hi to Bob and say thank you. And let me have a little bit, offer you some coffee, Bob. We got some glitching going on. I was going to do a video the other night, and the internet literally went off for about 3 hours. So, but anyway, we thank you, Bob. We love you. Ween. So now, with this idea of spiritualism, I've looked into black magic. I've looked into white magic. I've looked into and I still will read this or that or, do a little research. But I understand that some of this stuff, like, why would I want to conjure anything? Why would I want to call upon the spirits to do my bidding? For what? Well, I can call upon the spirits in the universe to help someone else that's troubled. But do I have to call upon any particular group? Well, I asked the fairies to come help you. Okay, you could have just asked the universe. I mean, so there are folks who are like, well, I call upon these all the time, and I call upon them all the time, and I use this kind of earth magic, and I use this. But maybe just a good positive thought from you to them is actually all you need. Because we all have the power of the universe within us. In the Christian Bible, it says, you are made in the image and likeness of God. Well, God has a mustache, and he's got some missing teeth, and his hair real long, and even though I got a little bit of gray around, okay. So, and I've seen some really ugly looking people that needed some of God's help, just saying. But in that respect, that's a joke, but you get what I mean. But the idea, though, that we in here are made to the image and likeness of God because we have a soul, because we have a spirit. Now, I've talked about this before, and I've meditated on this a lot, and there's a difference between the soul and the spirit. The soul is old. The spirit is current. So right now, my spirit is experiencing these things, but my soul has the energy of all the old previous stuff, right? So it's like, well, the spirit and the soul are the same thing. Not quite. The soul's always there, and spirit's always there. But spirit is in the present, okay? Once you exit, like, Brian is a spirit now, but he's also his soul. He's like one now, because now he's in a soul experience where when whatever reincarnation or regeneration or whatever that becomes him or me or us or later, we still will have our soul, but it's what we do with our spirit. Now, in previous life, I was an SOB, and I'm trying to make up for some of that. And it has literally taken blood to do it. But the idea, though, that we carry this with us is only up to us. Do we wish to drag it forward? Now, if I've done something in a previous life that was really nasty, God forbid, I was a SOB. Murdered, possibly raped some folk, don't know, not a good guy. But the idea, though, that a lot of people did the same thing back in the day. It was like all cow, you watch a cowboy movie and they're all like, hey, look, there's a girl. Let's all have sex with her. Or, oh, hey, there's a. I've always wondered where they got all that beer and all that whiskey from. You know, they must have had train loads of nothing but whiskey heading into some of them saloons. But anyway, but the idea, though, that the spiritualism of it all, what value do we get out of this life, is going to help our spirit. I can't, all this stuff that's in my house, I can't take none of it with me. It's going to be behind. So I'm like giving stuff away. Like, hey, well, yeah, a friend of mine was here a month or so ago, and I had this really nice old silver tarnished five a candelabra, five candles. She was like, wow, that's really cool. And I was like, you like it? Yeah. Here, take it. What? You're giving this to me? Yeah. Here. You want it? You don't have to, but I got a big thing, a chest that I'm giving away to a friend of mine. He's going to come by in a day or so. I'm like, here you go. Don't you want this or what? It's nice, I would like, but no, it's in my way. And here, you take it. You got two girls that need a toy box and play. Here you go. So it's like I've collected all this junk over the years, and now I'm looking at ways to give some of it away. Not just, I got too much junk, but I can't take it with me. None of this is going with me. So to help my spirit out, it would be better off to give something to someone in the spirit of kindness or love or whatever and say, here you go. I give this to you freely without anything. Here you go. And whether you remember me or not, that's not part of the deal. But I'm giving you, I've had this for a while. It's been one of my possessions. Here, you take it. Because I can't take it with me. And if I pass away, I got nobody really to get rid of my stuff. It's probably just going to all go into a big dumpster or something. And God knows. And it's like some of these things like, these bells really are from the Great Wall of China. It's not something that was just bought in the dollar store. Now, you might be able to buy something like it in the dollar store, but no, these actually came from China, bought at the Great Wall. So that makes them special to me. And like I was talking with my friend the other day, he was talking about the canoe. And I said, this canoe I got, it's a Cadillac. And he goes, yeah, well, it's a little long and blah, blah. And I said, yeah. But there was a 70-year-old guy that canoed from Key West to Cuba in that canoe out there. And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah, that was one of the reasons why I bought it. He was like, I said, you did what with it? And he goes, yeah, it's a really stable canoe and blah, 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 blah. I love it. It's a little heavy for me now at my age, but, I'm still working on that. And me and the dog are going to go canoeing soon. Boy, I need the river. But I'm trying to exercise so I can lift that damn canoe. The dog can't help me lift the canoe. But anyway, this whole idea, though, that can we do it? Yes or no? Should we do it? Yes or no? How does it feel to you? Should you do it? Well, I don't know. Recently some things happened. Y'all know some of the stuff around here. But I tried my best. And that's all we can ever do. And somebody said, well, would you do it again? And I'm like, I kind of lied. And I said, probably not. But at the same time, if somebody was in trouble, needed a place to stay, and I got extra room, I would probably say, okay, much to my demise or chagrin or whatever. But I would still offer it because Jesus did. The Christ consciousness is there. Would I offer something? Of course I would. And I'm a little bit more picky, and like, but would I try to help somebody? Yeah, I would. Despite it all, I would. I would just be more careful or whatever. But would I still help somebody out? Yeah. That ain't going to change. So my intent, regardless of religion, is to still try to do good. You get your hand slapped, you get knocked down, you get crapped on. Get up. Get up. Because it's when we give up that there is no hope. And some people say, well, why should I hope for a better tomorrow? Well, because tomorrow, God forbid, you might pass away. And tomorrow might be your time to go to the other side. So you won't have to worry about all this worldly nonsense and be in this kind of pain anymore. So you should always be prepared. Well, what was there? Well, I'll go to church next week. Well, why don't you sit down and take 5 minutes and just kind of take it, if you're putting everything on the church or everything on the Bible or everything on, quote, the Word of God that wasn't written by God, just saying, um, lots of people say some really wonderful things. So is it about religion? Is it just about Jesus? No. It's about the Christ consciousness that is long time before and will extend long after the Jesus thing. And you think he wanted a religion out of this? Oh, hell no. But it kind of ended up that way, and man has twisted it just nuts. It's a really good book. There are some nice things in it. But should we take everything? Well, God said this, or did he? Well, actually, it's in Mark, and Mark said it. But and Paul, Paul, nah, y'all just rip that section of the Bible out. Many priests and a lot of other folks don't give that. There's so many. Well, have you read Paul? Have you read Paul? Have you read Paul? To the point where I just want to puke. And it's like, what about Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and John? Them four were there, supposedly at least, where Saul was riding along on a horse and got struck down. But everybody gives him more credit than the others. And I just don't see it. So even in religion, it's all about who's right or who's wrong. In the universe of things, is grass green? Well, on this planet it is. Do they have bluegrass in Kentucky? Yeah. Do they, are oranges orange? Most of them. Some of them are a little tinted and sort of yellowy or a little on the, but oranges are orange usually. Apples, a lot of them are red, but there's the different colors. There's the yellows and they have purple potatoes, that are quite tasty, but odd looking, just saying. Looks more like a beet than a potato. But in the nature of things, what do we have at the end of it all? We have our intent. Do you wish good upon the universe? Yeah, I do. Do you? That's why I say Brian's my hero, because he wished good. He wished for good things to come out. That's why I think he passed honorably, and his honor lives with us. And I'm very proud to have been it. Still, he says, you're still my friend, but thank you, Brian. But the idea, though, that of all the things that transpire in this universe, if we look at the basic natural things, that's what will make us more spiritual. Reading a bunch of books only give us ideas. But it's the ideas that stick with us that we experience in the natural world that gives us the spiritualness. There are many priests, many different, what do? They go on retreat. Why? So they can go have a religious experience. It's usually outside, it's camping, it's something. It's a retreat to get out of the norm and to allow your spirit to do this. As teenagers, it was a perfect time to go get drunk. St. Leo's College, it's really pretty up there. But the idea, though, that the retreat, well, Jesus went to the desert for 40 days. He went on a walkabout. And there are a lot, my sister, you've heard me talk about Sister Helene. She told me back in 1970, she goes, they say, well, Jesus disappeared. Nobody knows where he went. He went and studied Buddhism and Eastern religions. And when he learned what he learned, he came back to try to explain it all to the Jews and the Pharisees and all them dumb folk, So it's like, but how many people are going to, wait a minute, Jesus, he couldn't have been a Buddha. Why not? Why he couldn't have traveled around to different lands and picked up spiritualism? He didn't preach Christianity. He preached brotherly love. He taught us the basics of what Buddhism is. Did Jesus go into the temple to preach? No. Everybody went out in the fields. They eat, Sermon on the Mount, blah, 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 blah. No, Jesus went out into nature where he could teach spiritualism, not religion. Where was Buddha? Buddha was out underneath the tree and the thing and the nature and the. Wait a minute. So spiritualism has got to be tied with natural things. Well, my goodness. So you read the tree of life through your connections with the Akashic records, with the universe, and you allow the universe to come in. You accept and receive the knowledge and the healing from the universe. You have to accept it. If you go, well, that's really nice. No, I accept. Give me a download. I want to know about this. I accept the information. That's just like, okay, go. You can send it now. But if you just kind of wander around and not looking for it, it can still hit you. Go, what the hell was that? Oh, well, I don't know what that was. But because you didn't really accept it. You might have received it, you see. Well, there are a lot of times somebody can send you a nasty email, but it doesn't mean you have to open it. It doesn't mean you have to respond to it. It means somebody sent you an email. It was sent, but was it received? You know what I mean? And I learned this before. People want to send a bad comment or blah, 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 blah. And like, it's not ignoring them. It's like, I can accept. I'll read it, and if it just looks like a bunch of trash, I don't delete them. There have been a couple over the years, but I look and I go, well, but wait a minute. Everybody's got an opinion, just like rear ends. We all got one, most of us anyway. Some prettier than others, but the idea, though, that the information is available to us. So the universe can send us stuff all the time. But if we're not going to open the email, then we didn't really receive it, did we? It was sent. So, but in that, we can accept negative things. In my past, I'd go, oh, this person's got it. And I'd spend hours sending a rebuttal and all this stuff. And what did it end up doing in the meantime? The person on the other end did not understand at all, no matter how I tried to put it. And I realized it's not that I'm in a class of my own. It's just that they're not in the same class. They're not in the league of like-minded beings. They just don't get it. Some people can think in 3D. I used to do AutoCAD and create 3D projects and tooling and things that moved and all that. I have trouble turning on the computer now. But back in the day, I was really fast and really good at what I did. That's why I had the job that I did as an engineer. So I could take a drawing and do a couple of things, and I had it, right? And I can still remember some of the commands, which is odd, but I haven't used it in 15 years. But the idea, though, that I had all this knowledge, and it got to a point when that knowledge just didn't matter anymore. What good did it do me? What good does it understand for me to understand how to construct something in a 3D AutoCAD and to write a Lisp program and to do these things? What good does it do me now? It was a job at the time. It made me smart and I learned about computers. But in the long run, did it make me any more spiritual? No, but it was my job and I did it well. And I learned and things, but what I learned out of it, because I was good at my job, was how I needed to learn to be humble about my job. And that was spirituality. And I've talked about that. The two plants, they both gave up extra time to give me a going away dinner when I left Prestolite all those years ago. And God bless all them folk. I mean, there was 700 and some odd 65 people that worked there, and 3/4 of them were there to give me a send off. Some of them came back on from first shift to be there at second shift. I mean, them folks was great. And I mean, they didn't give that kind of send off to some of the managers and things, but it was because of what I developed with the people. And the people became spiritual. It wasn't the job, it was the people who helped me to do my job, and I helped them to do their job. And it took a lot of work to work with all these people, but at the end they all respected me. And I gained that not from being an asshole or a bully or a this. It was by being spiritual and kind to everyone there. And I got much more back in return. Oh my God. I was, to this day, it still blows me away. But the idea, though, that can we make a mark on people? Yes. All the time, every time. Can we get answers from the universe? Yes. You have to accept and receive. All right. Now, there is some, like there are times when, look, I don't want none of the negative stuff. Don't want any of it. Don't want to know about it. Don't want to hear about it. If it ain't positive, then don't send me anything. Now, I'm still accepting and receiving, but if there's anything in particular that you guys want to dump on me, if it's something I got to deal with, is something negative or nasty or something in the in that respect, give it to me bits at a time, And there are things that I've seen that are still coming true, and it's like, okie dokie. But, at the same time, regardless of the negative things, I also know that there are positive things happening. You folks are out there. Brian, Milky Way Messenger, and now Milky Way Soul Tribe. Yes, this is what it's all about. We are sharing our experiences. Is it a religion? No. We're a soul tribe. We're members of the League of Like-Minded Beings. We're star beings. All of us are. But when we recognize that we are, I still have a lot to learn. But I'm open to it. That's the key. If people say, well, I don't understand that shit. Well, never mind. And there are other folks over here that go, well, I don't believe you talk that crap. Blah, blah, blah. Never mind. It's not that I don't love you, but the types of subjects and the type of higher minded thinking, not that I'm better than anybody. I do not feel that. I feel like I still, as a shaman in training, I still got a long way to go. Why? Because I'm still affected by these other things. And not that I should be, well, I don't know. Sometimes I thought Buddha might have been a little cold-hearted and a little selfish. Okay. Because he just meditated all the time, and people come to see Buddha. Where at the other side of the coin, Jesus walked around and preached to folks. He talked to folks. They asked him questions, and he interacted with them. Well, to me, like St. Francis, the real St. Francis, and not this guy that's trying to dick his way into the Catholic Church. That pisses me off so bad. St. Francis was my hero for a long time. He still is, but his kind of got washed away a little bit. But anyway, they wanted to throw St. Francis out of the church, because he was using herbs and things. He had blessings in the church where they would bring all their farm animals and he'd bless them all and blah, blah, blah. They were like, no, you can't bless a goat. What are you talking about? Yeah, that's sacrilege, animals. And Jesus was like, oh, cut it out, They want good milk for the goats. So I gave the sign of the cross, hang out, and hopefully the goat will be okay. A positive thought. He was passing it along regardless of whether or not they had coin. And in the Catholic Church, coin has a lot to do with it. Oh boy, buying your soul into heaven. But the idea, though, that did the religion make St. Francis spiritual? St. Francis was already spiritual, and it was the church that made him a saint. It was the religion that made him. He was against all of it. Well, we're going to start an order. No, he said. He went to Rome and told them no. And they said, and so the Franciscan order and blah, blah. Anyway, so the church has done, and not just the Catholic Church, the church has done a lot of stuff to keep us, in my opinion, from being spiritual. Because their object is to make us religious. not spiritual. They want you to be a good Catholic or a good Baptist or a good, whatever it is. You got to be a good one. Well, my grandmother, she did all that practicing and she was an asshole. She was a. And so what good did the church do her? Well, I know I'm passing judgment. Only because of what she did. She had a horrible track record, children, grandchildren, her own husband. I mean, but my Granny Raleigh, on the other hand, all the kids in the neighborhood loved her, and as they grew up, they came back and would visit Grandma Raleigh, and she knew all these kids that she took care of in the neighborhood, and they all came and swam at the pool, and she would, oh my God, they loved Granny to death. Not so much for Grandma, no. But who was religious? See my point? I know I'm going about around and around and around about this, but you can read the Bible all you want, but reading the Bible will not get you into heaven. Being a Catholic or a Christian ain't going to get you there. It's what your intent as a person is and your intent in the universe. Do I wish ill upon people, or am I so selfish, like I've got all this thing, I blah, 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 I got 18 acres of land. You don't have a place, I got a tent. You need a spot? Okay. But now if you can't live in the tent and that's not your liking, then go live under a bridge or in a cardboard box. It's your choice. But the thing is though that I've offered it to many people, and I would still, in that, because it ain't mine to begin with, this land, it's only a place of respite, transition, whatever. But in that, what is your intent? So my intent, somebody needs a place to stay. Okay. It's that simple for me. But other people want to put all this other stuff on top of it. Well, it's this and that. What about my internet? I thought you needed a place to stay. And when I got out of jail, I needed a place to stay, and I slept on somebody's floor for 3 weeks until I had enough money to get my own place. And they were inconvenienced. I was inconvenienced, but it beat the hell out of the alternative. And I will forever, they're both dead now, but I will forever be grateful for them allowing me to sleep on their floor. And I cleaned for them. I cooked dinner for them. I did whatever I could because they were letting me stay at their house, even though I was just sleeping on the floor. But I was grateful. Maybe it was because I'd been in jail and didn't have anything else. And the contrast of being out and, sleep on the floor, okay, that beats the hell out of jail, right? But to some people, they would say, nah, I ain't sleeping on the floor. If I don't have a bed, I'd rather be back in jail. Yeah, that's for true. So spiritualism is the same way. Are you going to be spiritual or are you going to be religious? And are you going to use the religion as the excuse for spiritualism? Well, I gave to the church. What did you give? Your time? Well, I gave money. Yeah, but did you help anybody? Well, I gave money. No. Did you help anybody? I gave money. That's not the answer to that. But that's the answer they give. So it's like people are too worried about themselves and their how do I look in society? What's my standard, my status, blah, blah, blah. Where's my parking place that I paid for? Religion, fine. It will help you to become spiritual. But religion will not save you. Neither will Jesus. Well, what do you mean? Well, I pray the second coming. Listen, he's already been here several other times. Nobody's paid any attention. There's been, I talked about this years ago. There's really good proof that the reincarnation is back on the planet, and it has been for a little while. Oh, but the reincarnation of Jesus, the thing is, but it says in the Bible he's going to come in on a cloud. And have you looked at the clouds lately? Maybe he did. But maybe it was a mothership. What? Well, Jesus can't be an alien. Why not? We are. Each one of us are alien in one way or another. None of us were part of this. Our DNA's been tinkered with. And for people to say, well, and we're not descended from monkeys unless you believe it, okay? We are descended from higher beings. That's why our DNA's been spliced. We're the only critters on this planet that has DNA spliced. Think about it. There's more to this planet. There's more than religion. There's more than all this. It's all about, do you love? Do you care? Do you wish for good hope? Do you wish for enlightenment? I wish for enlightenment for all folks. Y'all get it one of these days, and life would be a whole lot easier. It's like some things that are going on around, with the C-19 thing, blah, blah, blah. I won't even use the word. I don't want to give it any strength, but down here in the South and around, folks are going in and out of stores. They still got the plastic divider thing up, and people are still being a little, further apart in the line, but ain't nobody going crazy. We're all going, yeah, okay, let's wash our hands. But the folks with the gloves and the thing, dropped a lot. But folks, I can't say that people are getting sick from the 19 thing, but it's like we're being careful, we're being responsible, but we ain't got batshit crazy over this stuff. It's our intent. I think it's our spiritualism. I don't know. Maybe we're kind of protected in a way because of how we care for the other person. And, I've had folks come down here and deliver food for me because I couldn't drive to town myself. And, but then I had too much food and I realized it. And some folks that come to visit me, I gave it away. And it was like, so I didn't waste the food. It was given to me and I passed it along to others who pass things on. I mean, it's our intent of giving and sharing. Could it become a religion? Why? Why don't we just say we are all members of the soul tribe? And we are. And we are members of the League of Like-Minded Beings. Those are just two true statements. That's it. We think these ways, we're learning, we're trying to understand things on a higher level, and that makes us part of the membership right there. What makes a shaman in training? The fact that you want to be. What? Well, them shamans, they beat drums and they burn incense and they dance around, and not all shamans do that. Not all shamans speak in magical, mystical ways. Some of us just speak calmly. Like, as a shaman, I would say, to the universe, to the spirits, to the great creator, protect us all and give us great health, good health. Magic? My intent is there. My wish, can the universe, you accept it, and maybe you'll receive it. The gifts and the knowledge and the wisdom of the universe. And yes, at times it can actually cure us. I spoke about it before on the Soul Tribe earlier this evening. I did 3 days on the river with less than a gallon of any kind of liquid. And it was 101, 103 in the shade, dog days, or 3rd, 4th, and 5th of August. And I should not have come off that river, I'm telling you. And the fact that me and my little Sasha dog made it, got back in the big canoe, but made it back, and I'm still living, is a testament to the fact that circumstances might not kill you, but my intent to stay alive, my intent to get back, my intent to, I'm not going to give up regardless of how hot it is. I got back. I still don't know how sometimes. I really don't. I'm like, but I've talked to, this isn't about that particular story, but man, them spirits came, and I've had one on each shoulder that could see myself walking through the palmetto bushes, and they were like, we're going to protect you. Don't worry about it. And 3 days later, I'm like, okie dokie. So can we make it out? Yes. Can we make it through hard times? Yes. Can we, and what's to say I wouldn't have died on the river? Nothing. But my intent says that I just refuse to give up. I refuse to say that's it. And I refuse to bitch and complain about, well, I should have brought more water. Well, tough luck, drink what you got and make do. We did. We made it. My little Sasha's been gone now for a couple of years. She died on 9/11. Not the tragic 9/11, but the 9/11 a couple of years ago. Anyway, I miss my little Sasha dog, but I got Duggars sitting over here on the couch right now. He likes his little spot. Duggar and I have become good friends. So, and he's a good dog. He really is. But it's our intent in our spirit. So we show it with animals, we show it with plants, we show it with rocks that don't necessarily interact as much as plants would or an animal would. But our intent to the universe is always there. So if we keep our intent pure as much as possible, I know things get in the way, but if we say, I love you and you mean it, then that's that. You know, I love you for this and that and this and that and this and that and this and that. Well, that's all fine and good if you have to list them, the qualities. But if you just say to the universe, and I love you all, and I do mean it, and you all get it. I don't have to like, well, I love you guys because of this and that. No, I love you all. Cosmic hugs. That's the bottom line. I love you. Peace be with you. Does anything else really need to be said? If our hearts are in it and our intention is pure, that's it. And what did Jesus say? Peace be unto you. When he walked around and said things to folks, what did he say? Peace be unto you. The first thing he said, peace be unto you. Not me or peace be unto you. So thinking about the other person with good intent. So the first thing he says, peace. He states his intention, and anything beyond that, peace be unto you. So, my friends, let me check up on some of the stuff in the chat. Y'all going crazy in there, I tell you what. Let me see. See, Legend Oz, DZ, Sun, at least you're not denying that it was created. Okay, far too up. You guys have your own discussion about stuff. Tooth and me, we love you as well. Thank you. You know I do. Sun says, I am wise enough to know I know nothing. I know a smidgen. It's okay to admit that I don't know it all. But to say that you know nothing, I would argue that point. Because otherwise you wouldn't be having any. But Sun, if you know enough that you know nothing, then you know something. Just say it. You're aware of the fact, and awareness of, wow, I don't know it all. That leaves most people that's one of the beginning things. Well, wait a minute, nature's going to teach me a lot. Well, nature sucks, or it don't. It's that. How do we look at it? So I've always loved nature. I've always been a natural person in that. So I've not had to skip ahead. There are some folks who would never leave an apartment building and to go outside and camp. One person said, but there are ants out there. Yeah. But if you put a tent down and don't put any food on the ground, the ants will leave you alone. But there's mosquitoes. If you go sit out on your balcony, there's mosquitoes there, or your porch or whatever. But there's always an excuse. Well, you know what else is out there? Nature. It's alive with stuff. But so anyway, a leak that went on at least a week. I still have a leak in my backyard. I got to go fix, by the way. Thank you for reminding me. Twisted says, every great teacher learns from their students. Eventually, yes, and they should. Michelle, really happily for your company. Mary Wynn says every teacher becomes a student when they teach. If they're a good teacher, they will. Tooth of me, did you get some pictures? I'm wise enough to see how big this is. It expands. The more you seek, the bigger the picture. That's true. But understand this too, that even though it's the whole universe, knowing that you don't know it all is like a really big leap in the right direction, because accepting your limitations but exploring beyond your own expectations. In other words, well, I'm a Catholic and the Catholic Church, well, screw them, I ain't going to become spiritual at all. For a while I went that way years ago. Then I realized I was still spiritual and it had nothing to do with the church or a religion. So that's sort of what got me started on the shaman idea thing, and I went Buddhist for a while, everything was namaste and Buddha. And now it's like people toss that word namaste around. And I'm like, everything's namaste, namaste. And I'm not saying that their intent is bad, but can you just say, have a great day once in a while? Well, namaste, namaste. Stop it already with the namaste. It's almost like, if you don't say it, well, I'm not a good Buddhist if I don't say namaste. Oh, stop it, please. Anyway, some people get a little bit overzealous with some of the dumbest things, in my humble opinion. But I know that these people in their hearts they were good about it. But because they had just experienced this Buddha consciousness, everything was namaste. Calm down, Dave. I know. All right, Hawkeye. Ladies and gentlemen, hobos and tramps, cross-eyed mosquitoes, and bow-legged ants. Tonight, I am going to talk about our great president who slid down a banana peel on the Mississippi River. Anyway, that was an old thing we learned years ago, a little diddly. Who slipped on a banana peel down the Mississippi. Oh man, there's another 2 lines in there. But anyway, I had to do it as a one of the first times on stage. But anyway, my friends, I got tired all of a sudden, and I've been at this for, I realize now, with being with Trina and everybody on the Soul Tribe, and this, I've been at this for like 3 hours without a break. So I need a break. I love you, I do. And each of us will have our own way of understanding the universe. Each of us is going to have our own point of view, and that's okay. But we find the commonality in that we all understand about the love. We all understand about the giving. We all understand about our intent. Doesn't matter how we get there. At least, the dark magic things, that ain't going to get us to enlightenment. What dark magic taught me was it was not for me, and I needed to stay in the light, and that's where I belonged. There are other people who are comfortable there. Maybe that's where they belong. But we'll still pray for those folks that are in dark places. Let's think about the light. Be the frequency you wish to receive. I said that wrong the other day. And I will close with this. Lady Spitfire, Robert V. Buddha may just have had the Christ consciousness. Agreed. That's sort of my point in that, Robert V. In that the Christ consciousness has been on this planet long before Jesus showed up. So love you all, says Mary. Ladies, pray for water. It is burdened. Yes, yes, yes. Being an aware, conscious mind, says Sun helps the whole of all of us. Yes. And being a part of this soul tribe, when we got offline and I was talking with Robert V and with Trina, we were talking about the things that, that we feel. And it's like she made a comment about seeing me in one of her meditations. And I said, and I mean this, I'm outside working in the garden or out in the woods or something. I see you folks come by in the chat room, and I go through and I send a little prayer, cosmic hugs, cosmic hugs, cosmic hugs. And, whether you get them or not, I'm sending it to the universe, and my intention is good. So it's not that I wish anything back in return. It's not. I just wish good thoughts to you all because you have given me so much up to this point. David Castle, and hi, Mr. David, manifest a beautiful evening. Yeah. And manifesting sometimes, truth of me, love you all. The best, and so good to see you. I was out walking tonight during your show. Much love. Thank you, Tooth and Me, and Project Skyfall. It's good to see you. East Coast Kraken. It's like suddenly it all makes sense. At times, Twisted E. Thank you, David Null. I subbed your. Thank you. What's my email? dwnull52@gmail.com. And it's on the YouTube thing. dwnull52. Yeah, I'm sorry. Gmail. I did have a Yahoo account, and somewhere I've lost the password. But anyway. Yes, be grateful every time you drink water, says Mary Wins. Thank you all. Listen, it is Sunday morning early. I hope you all have a good day and a good week coming up. We do have lots of trials and tribulations. Some of them are going to be big ones. Some of them are going to be small ones. The internet went out for 3 hours the other night. I'm pretty sure they were just doing some upgrades and stuff. But here I was, all planned on doing something, and the internet went down. So if you're not making plans for this or that, be prepared. Be a good Boy Scout. I don't know about the Girl Scouts, but be prepared. And it doesn't take a lot. I can understand now why people, as the older they get, some people become hoarders. And I'm trying not to be a hoarder anymore. I was a collector, not necessarily a hoarder. But I realized I collected way too much stuff, and that minimalism is like the best. Now, with all this crap I got in my house and all the trinkets and things and stuff that I've collected over the years, and many of them handed down from other people that were gifted to me, and I have kept them all these years as a museum or something or whatever. And now it's like, but I'm not going to live forever, but, I hope to be around for a while, knock on wood, But the idea, though, that my intent is that I would much rather give it away than somebody throw it away or it get trashed or lost if it could be of value to someone else. So that's what we need to be. We need to, if there's something simple that we may have, it could be very valuable to someone else, like a hug, a good word, or just a peace be to you, my brothers and sisters. Cheers, everybody. Michelle, good to see you. Thank you, Twisted, Z Legend, Tooth and Me, Robert V, Michelle, got you there. I'm going to Mary Wins, as always. Yeah, you wrote it down, Michelle. Thank you. dwnull52@gmail.com. Yes. Yeah, and my phone's in the. I'm listed in the phone book because I have a landline, so it's not really hard to track me down. As far as my phone calls go. Did I miss anybody? Twisted, Sun, Robert V. Thank you, Robert, for having me on tonight. It really, really, honestly, Lady Spitfire, as always, it really, 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 really meant a lot to me that you all wanted me on tonight's first YouTube video and everything. Thank you so much. I know, I feel Brian's presence right here, right now. I have all sort of evening. And whether he really is sitting here doesn't matter, because I've understood his energy, as many of you have. But the energy of other people, of you and me, who are still in this plane, we're still sharing. We are still the soul tribe. Our intention, yes. Are we making headways? Yes. Are we manifesting a better future? For each and every one of us, Does it matter whether our brothers and sisters see the truth? What matters is whether or not we make it when it's our time to go. Should we try to help other people? Yes. But should we lose everything for the sake of another person's soul who don't want to be saved? And the answer is not necessarily. We give, we pray to all those who need help, but there comes a time when the other side doesn't want our help. We need to focus on ourselves and make sure we make it to the other side. That is the ultimate, not to be selfish, but as self-preservation, we got to be ready when it's our time to go. Period. Our neighbor ain't going to get us into heaven. Our brothers and sisters or whoever ain't going to get us into heaven. We are, because of our own vibrations. Be the frequency you wish to receive. Thank you, Brian. Thank all of you, David Castle, Twisted, Mary, Michelle, Legends, Lady Spitfire, as always. And one of these days, Lady Spitfire, you and I are going to talk on the phone. I think you sent me your phone number, but anyway. So until next time, and I promise I'm going to try to do this more often with subjects, but stay focused on your intent of all the things. So close for now. I continue to pray that each and every one of you, your friends, your family, and all of your relatives will learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, and the wisdom from the universe. I continue to pray that each and every day, each and every one of you, your friends, your family, all of your relatives, and all of your relations will learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, and the wisdom from the universe. And as the law of three, I continue to pray that each and every day, each and every one of you, your friends, your relatives, all of your relations, past, present, and to come, will learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the wisdom, and the healing from the universe. And as you all are doing, continue to share what you've learned and feel. Till next time, my friends, Project, and I said y'all's names before. I love you. Cheers, everybody. And until next time, be safe, be kind, be compassionate when necessary, and understand the difference between the two. TTFN, thank you, Bob. It got a little weird, but till next time, Michelle, we love you.